Hello, parents, educators, and nerdy D&D fans. You have found our new home for Area of Effect, a talk show where we discuss how tabletop role-playing games benefit the whole family. We're currently in process of shifting all our old but golden episodes over to this new channel by posting a new episode every weekday until we catch back up to our new episodes. We would love your help getting this new channel up and running with a follow, share, or review. And thanks for joining us on our quest to bring more adventurers to the table.
Here's your report.
Oh, thanks, Jane. I wish I could hire someone just like you.
Try LinkedIn Hiring Pro. It's more than a job board. It's like the recruiter you always wished you had. Hiring Pro uses real-time insights to match your role to LinkedIn's unique network of professionals and delivers a short list of best fit candidates. You'll spend less time sorting applicants and more time talking to the right people.
Let's do it. You're irreplaceable, Jane, but another you would be great.
Hire right the first time. Post your job for free on LinkedIn today at linkedin.com/quality.
This episode is brought to you by Perfect Bistro Cat Food. Cats, this ad is for you. Has your human ever called you picky, persnickety, choosy? If so, Perfect Bistro Cat Food is for you. With ingredients like wild-caught tuna and pasture-raised lamb, tantalizing textures, and delectable flavors that meet even the most discerning cat standards. You're not picky, you're just perfectionists. Perfect Bistro, mealtime perfection for every cat. Have your human visit perfectbistro.com.
Yeah, so 2020, March, COVID just hit. I was in grad school and my son was 3. I was at home. My wife worked full time. I was daddy daycare, and I had 3 scientific papers to write for my thesis defense. And I was approached by my buddy about writing 5e content, D&D content for his Wildspire miniatures. So I was, COVID, there was no time. I was writing late at night, early in the morning. And a simple question from my wife was, how, is there a way to get Calvin, your son, involved in some of this D&D stuff you're hobbying right now? I kind of did a search and saw that although there are a lot of good games out there, when it comes to D&D rules, the rules that people know, there wasn't much out there. And so that really started me to create family fantasy RPG games and to make a system that I could immediately play with my son. And that playing it with my son and seeing him react so well with it, that spawned us to keep it going, to actually get it all down on paper, to pay for art and everything.
Well, welcome to Area of Effect, a podcast by the Kids Table, where we discuss how tabletop RPGs benefit kids and answer your questions about playing TTRPGs with the kids at your own table. Well, welcome today, Colin.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Colin writes 5e fan content for Wildspire Miniatures and is the creator of Family Fantasy RPG's 3-tier system for kids based loosely off D&D 5e. His TTRPGs include the wildly popular Fairies of Mistglade and Dino Riderz. So we're so thrilled to have Colin with us here today.
Yeah, it's great to be here. I love seeing your Instagram reels and hearing about the stories of you and your family playing games. So it's fun to be a part of the conversation.
Oh yeah, we're having a lot of fun, and I love just how supportive this small little corner of our world is with creators just supporting other creators. So happy
Definitely,
to continue that tradition.
Awesome.
Cool. So tell me about your family's experience with TTRPGs and how this all got started for you.
Yeah, so I was deep in during COVID. I was deep in playing and writing fantasy literature. I was writing NPC profiles for the Wildspire miniatures. I was making maps and creating cities and making these quick stories, and had my creative juices flowing. And at that time, my son was 3, and he was into board games. We were getting into board games and all that kind of fun stuff. And it finally just came to the question of, can I play D&D with my kid? And we searched. And when it came to D&D, there wasn't a lot out there. I'm going to drop some names because I really do support a lot of the stuff that's out there. But like D&D Adventure Club was really good in putting out 5e style adventures for children, but they were still little rules heavy. I mean, when people think about playing D&D with children, they already kind of have in their mind what ages is possible, right? My son was 3 though, so I had to go beyond that. If I'm trying to get my son somewhat involved, what's the lowest I could start? And as we kind of talked about before the show, interactive storytelling, that is basically like where you start this adventure. And so I created the system that tier one that doesn't have any dice, doesn't have any combat, is just kind of a skills interactive storytelling. Choose a skill, continue the story kind of thing. Ran through the adventure with him, and the way he reacted to it, first of all, holding his attention. I'm sure you know, holding a kid's attention is very difficult.
Yeah.
And so the fact that we could get through, I had designed him chapter based with that in mind, but I didn't know, you never know exactly how it's going to work. Uh, we were amazed. We went through the first like 3 or 4 chapters, which was like an RP, like a role playing interaction, and then more like a map creation, and then a discussion, like a journaling kind of thing. And it kept his attention until about 30 minutes, and then it was done. Um, that really sparked us to say, hey, this could be successful, because a lot of the other games we play, 30 minutes is a long time. Not many of the games made it 30 minutes.
Right.
Yeah,
At 3 years old.
right, right. But another thing that we realized is you have to, like, as the game creator, you got to make the system because you need a system, but you need to create inherently in the system enough freedom to work with kids. And
Yeah.
so, and as a DM, it's hard too. I'm very organized. I'm very meticulous. And the fact that 30 minutes in the game, my son's paladin had a nice convertible pink car that he was driving around the swamp. You just kind of let that go. You got to just say, this is what it is. It's great.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. So, seeing these things happen with a 3-year-old, and then seeing the after effects, seeing like a month later, hearing that he was talking about Catch the Paladin with his school buddies or daycare buddies, and um, that's when we knew that, like, okay, not only is this good for our kid, but I think this system could be good for other people as well.
Yeah, well, I think that 3-tier system is brilliant. Can you kind of like give a brief overview for our listeners that haven't encountered it before?
Definitely. Yeah. So the tier one is for the youngest children, I'd say 3 to 5. It's no combat, no dice rolling. It's mostly interactive storytelling. You get, gosh, I should know the numbers exactly, but I think it's 3 abilities and some skills. It's very light. Six total things that are based off your paladin or your character class. So and then chapter based. So you'll get to a chapter that's like role playing, and you give the player, the kid, the freedom to take the role of his character and talk to an NPC. So that's an element of RPGs that everyone loves, but it's organized enough in the guide, in the game. It has answers to certain questions, and if they use certain skill, and it's good for us to prompt them to say, hey, let's look at your skills. Do any of these sound like these would work well here? And that's really that tier one. Tier two, this is for the kids that are getting 5 and 7 and realize that some of these situations require fighting. Like, I'm not going to leave fighting out of a game because if it's a kids game. I like having both options, combat and non-combat. But as they get older, they're going to want to fight stuff.
Oh
Why,
yeah.
why do they have a sword or magic if they can't fight stuff? But it's all static at that mid tier. It's all static numbers. Your spells do 4 damage. Your sword does 3 damage. So it's a little bit more system, but still not complicated and still free to, you don't really have to worry about DCs. You can kind of set them as you go because they're not rolling. It's not based on roll luck. It's just how good are they at this. And I should point out proficiency. The way I've worked in, especially in tier 3, is in this game you're either good at something or you're not. You're either proficient, which means you roll at advantage, or you're not and you roll at disadvantage. And I think that system is inherent to help teach teamwork and face you face it. You got to teach kids. Sometimes you're not the best at something. That's a really hard thing for kids, especially imaginative and creative and kids that want to please people. That's a hard thing for them to grasp. They would just
Oh
want
yeah.
to be the best. They want to be good at it. But the system makes it to where, okay, I'm not as good at this skill just because of my character. That's why, just because of my character. Whereas someone I'm with in my party, playing with, they might be good at that one particular thing.
When I like read kind of the overview of and I was like, oh, that's really interesting because you're setting them up to like definitely succeed or definitely fail. Like you're not going to get a lot of mid-tier numbers when you're only doing
Right.
advantage and disadvantage. But then when I read your like explanation that it's to encourage them to work on their teamwork and recognize skills in other people and when they need help, I was like, oh, brilliant. Love it.
Thanks.
Yeah.
And I do think too, for the kids that are a little more advanced, it also allows them to maybe look differently, look somewhere else on their character sheet to try to get creative. So maybe they use a spell to enhance whatever they're not good at to make them better at it. Um, but yeah, I like that that's in the system. And honestly, I feel like I probably got lucky on a few of the mechanics in there. They weren't meant to have certain effects or invoke certain mechanics, but they really do. And I've now heard from several families that have played the game across tiers, where they have multiple children playing at different tiers.
Uh-huh.
And I've never done it because I only have one kid, but I hear that it works really well. And it just surprises me, and it makes me really happy to know that that system, that mechanic works well in that situation.
Yeah, that's awesome. So they have kids at different age levels playing at the same table at the same time, but with like kind of different levels of rule sets.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
very cool.
Yeah.
Great idea. Um, so tell me about when you were starting to play with your son, what kind of like difficulties or speed bumps did you hit that you needed to adjust for? And then also when you started trying to write your own system, what were kind of some of the difficulties or things you had to work out?
Yeah, definitely. So one of the biggest difficulties for playing with my child was the anxiety aspect. And I will say that I am OCD a little bit. I have ADHD, all the things that make anxiety a considerable consideration in my life. So knowing that, like, man, sometimes when I was preparing, if I knew that I wanted to introduce my son to a game or want to try playing a game, that anxiety would get to me to say, oh, you got to set it up. You have to know exactly what you're doing. He's not going to sit there and listen to you read a book and find an answer. Um, so those things really were a block for me. They still are. They really still are. Once you start, the craziest thing, and this seems to be a theme echoed across people I talk to. Once you start the game, immediately it always goes well. Like it just always goes more smoothly and better than you could expect, because they don't have major expectations of what you're about to do. They just
Yeah.
want they just want to play a game with their parents,
They're not
or
going
their
to rules lawyer
siblings.
you
Right,
on the
exactly.
fine print.
I've talked about the benefit of this gaming system too for DMs that want to DM for the first time. And I think I put it in there that it's better to DM your first time for your children who are going to forgive you and be forgiving, instead of your friends who might heckle you and
Yeah, it sounds like the system that you've written really takes a lot of the guesswork out of the game for the DMs and really simplifies the rules. Like I like that you give the suggested responses because if they don't feel like improving, they could use it, but if they do feel
right.
like improving, they don't have to.
I did that starting with the writing I did for Wildspire Miniatures. His first set of miniatures that went out were these NPCs. They were townsfolk. They looked very plain. So I had to make them interesting. So
Hmm.
oh God, I wrote so much. I wrote 18 miniature quests, one for each of these NPCs.
Wow.
And I wrote it in that style, that same kind of style, where if someone rolls an investigation check, here are some examples based on the DC or what they roll of an answer you could give. And I know that that's very different than a lot of gaming content out there, but I think that that is a hang up for a lot of people going into it. They just don't think that they can come up with stuff on the spot to fill, to get across a message or to fill the role of that character in the game. They don't have to use it, they can modify it, but at least seeing it, maybe that's just me, but like seeing it on paper going, okay, I see what they're trying to say here. I'm going to say it like this. That's the same way with family playing with kids. I want to give you an example. You can run straight through what I've written if you want to, and it probably won't work because the kids aren't going to stay on the rails.
Yeah.
But seeing the process and seeing the message I think, makes it easier for a DM. Like, you don't have to read the whole thing. You could read 3 chapters worth, just to read a little, maybe prep just a little bit, and then go in. And once you're done, just say, we're done for the day. Like, there's no problem in saying, like, this is what I've prepared. This is what I'm ready to present to you. Um, and then be done with it. But yeah. And we played a lot of other games. We did No Thank You Evil. We've done there's another one we did recently, but like they are super rules intensive. I mean, they really are. I always get kind of critical when I see a new game come out and they say rules light, and then I go and I read it. And I'm like, okay, that's rules light for me,
Yeah.
but for a kid, that's not rules light. Like you
Yeah.
can't have 20 skills for a 5-year-old. Like
Yeah.
you can't.
Yeah, well, I mean, if we're being honest, it is a lot for the DM to like hold together because not only are like, especially for new DMs, like trying to figure out the rules, you're also having to figure out how to frame and teach those rules to your kid without losing their interest, but in like a clear way. And you're trying to like do this story and you're trying to hold their attention so they don't run away from the table. And you're trying to make sure they have fun, but aren't just like totally running like a bull through a brick wall straight through all the
Yeah.
rules, because you're trying to play the game, right? It's like a
Right.
lot to handle. Um, so I like, any of those aspects you can take off a parent's plate, just to make it more about the experience of sitting together and having fun. And then if you want to do your like completely from scratch homebrew system and world game with older kids or with your adult
Yes.
friends,
Yeah.
like go for it. But with kids, I mean, for us, we like to say that, the game is meant to be fun, and when you aren't having fun anymore, then we stop playing.
Exactly. That's
Uh,
that's that's a motto for adults too.
yeah, I mean, I like the idea of chapters. We don't have as much like TTRPG content out there as you do, but in the things that we've written, like for younger kids, we have 15-minute D&D, and so it's like a set of 5. So you can just play the one, or you can play all 5.
Right.
So like my younger daughter astounded me and was able to do 4 in a row, which I've never seen her concentrate on anything for that
Right.
long before. But that's because we included, puzzles and interactive things where she wasn't just like sitting at the table
Hmm.
listening to me narrate. The story really has to be written with kids in mind and different intelligences in mind, like the kids that are more physically wiggly and have to get up, or the kids that want to do brain teasers, or, all those different personality types.
Definitely. And my games they involve puzzles and one of the abilities is a puzzle ability. So I say that these are more powerful but more ritualistic spells that take a little bit more concentration. And so the idea is they're supposed to complete a puzzle and then they can cast this bigger ritualistic spell. And I think that you're right. It's a cheat. It is a cheat, literally, to keep their attention because it's something new, it's something they're familiar with. They can see a piece of paper with a puzzle on it and go, I know exactly what I'm going to be doing for the next couple of minutes. Um, I also thought it was important to bring in making your own maps. Like none of the maps are made in my games. You sit down with pen and paper with your kid and you add the trees and the shrubs and the plants and whatever is in this area, and then you play out combat or role playing on that map, changing it up. It's like they're playing different games in one game, and it's a cheat, and I think it works. But I don't unfortunately get a lot of feedback from people that have played, but the feedback I get is usually a surprise that like I had to stop because I only prepared 5 chapters because I thought
Yeah.
there was no way we were getting through 3 chapters, but my kid, in an hour just flew through the content.
Wow.
And yeah, so that's really cool to hear that just the system being there seems to help. Yeah.
Yeah, and I like how you frame it as like a ritual spell, right? Because like
Mhm.
that is something that's built into 5e, but often when we're playing like full 5e campaigns, we kind of gloss over that. Be like, "Oh, I'm
Mm,
doing this spell as a ritual and 10 minutes pass and let's move on." But
right.
really like what D&D is thinking is happening is that the wizard is like drawing out runes or like
Exactly.
something
Yep.
like that, right? So
Hmm.
actually a kid doing a puzzle or a maze or something like that is more authentically D&D than
Hmm.
often the adults even play it. I'm sure that you've noticed and probably been pleased that not only is D&D gaining like popularity in modern culture, but also there's like more and more stuff geared toward kids or at least being family friendly out there. So why do you think that is? Why do you think that it's like having its renaissance moment and also building younger?
That's a great question. I mean, I do think that there are cultural things that have brought popularity back, like Stranger Things and just social media in general, because it's easier to get stories about your D&D games out there. And Twitch, Twitch and streaming services. Critical Role, I watched the whole first, no, yeah, the whole first season, most of the second season, most of the third season. I just, time commitment is crazy. I would do it if I could,
Yeah.
but like I still have, from being in the community, I still have streamers that stream games that I'll hop into and try to listen for at least 15, 10 to 15 minutes at a time. And I think that's where some of the popularity has come from. Gaming aiming towards kids, I just think it's probably a market that they never really thought would be good, and there's always been that fa anti-family weird feeling about D&D,
Yeah.
demons and worship devil worshippers and all that like stigma around Dungeons and Dragons. So I feel like probably a lot of people were hesitant to say, okay, well, I'm going to make a kids game based around this. So I feel like taking the system and not the game is the best option, and I feel like even the D&D, like the official stuff that is going towards more towards children, that's not happening in Waterdeep or anything like that, right? It's places that are a little more family friendly
Yeah.
and appropriate for these interactions, and so
Yeah, when I get that question a lot, like, oh, like doesn't D&D have a lot of like adult content? And I'm like, well, D&D is just a system for telling a story, and you can tell whatever story you want within there. Like, so why
yeah,
can't I tell a family-friendly story or have
and
Dino Riders or fairies,
right,
you know?
right,
I think it also is having the effect of like generations where like, my generation was watching Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles when we were kids. And so what do we want our kids to introduce our kids to? Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So let's do a reboot,
mhm.
movie of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So it's kind of having that same generational effect, I think, where like, oh, like this was a thing when we were like teenagers or in college. And so now like that this age group is becoming parents, like, of course, we want our kids to be able to experience the joy and the creativity and the collaboration of the game. The shared memories that you're creating and like collaborating with your kid and affirming them and like running with their ideas and letting them help guide the story, like that has just immeasurable benefits for your family relationships. So I think it is
and I
hugely
really
beneficial to families.
And I really have not heard a bad story. I've never heard someone come and say, I ran a game for my kid and it was just miserable. And I'm sure it does happen from time to time, but I've never heard anyone say that. I feel like everyone comes out of it feeling like that was a fun experience. It was new. It was unexpected, maybe even. It's having the toolkit. I feel like a lot of parents want to make sure they have the toolkit to do it justice. It's interesting. Like I feel like not a lot of parents go into these games half, half ready. I feel like they're either all in or they're kind of stepping back and saying, I don't know if I can do this. Um, that I, yeah, I know that idea of them standing up and dancing around and losing their attention. That is a difficult thing for a lot of people. And it was good for me to experience it so I could learn to step back and just let it happen. Just let as the leader of the game, that part at that moment doesn't need any leading. You step back, you let it happen, and eventually they're gonna look at you and go, "Oh, what's next?" And you go, "Okay, let's go back
Yeah.
into it," and
And I
it's
think it's a
difficult.
symptom of like maybe your rules are a little too complex for them. Maybe you're losing them because they're not fully understanding the rules or they're not fully understanding the story or like there's not enough variety in the way that they're being engaged. So I think, when somebody writes a TTRPG with a rules light system, then you're probably going to get less of that anyway. And I think when adults have, the humility to be like, okay, I see my kids losing interest, so we're just going to call it a day and then come back to it
Yeah.
later, or like even ask their kid like, why were you feeling frustrated or why like later
Hmm.
why did you lose interest and what would you like to see me do differently the next time we play,
Right.
to be able to kind of understand more where they're coming from.
Yes.
So I
Yeah.
guess to
Yeah.
kind of wrap things up here for the podcast, what would be like your last piece or couple pieces of advice for parents and kids that are getting started or are anxious about getting started or are hitting some of these speed bumps?
My advice is that just do it. Like I know it's so simple, but like it's gonna be out of your comfort zone. Accept that. Accept the fact that there's going to be a moment that the game's going to go a direction that you're not ready for. But always remember and keep in mind that you just touched on it. Your kids are just looking to play a game with you. They're just looking to have fun with you. And definitely take away from the game all of the things that are there to take away. Don't take away whether it was if your kid got upset or if he got bored. Don't worry about that stuff. Take away why your kid got upset or why your kid got bored. Take away if you maybe overreacted to something. I know every time I come back, I'm like, okay, I kind of got frustrated when he was driving the convertible through the enchanted forest when
That
he's
wasn't what you
paladin, he doesn't
pictured
have
when
a
you
car.
planned the
Yeah,
game?
yeah, exactly, right. Um, and so it's you got it's bigger than what it is. And I say that because there's so much you can learn about your child and yourself trying this new thing. And I think you're going to have a good experience because I just haven't heard many people say, I regret doing that. That was a bad experience.
No,
So
not at
know
all.
you're going to come out of it with a positive attitude and good feelings, and you're going to learn something.
That's great. I love that. Well, why don't you share with our audience, where can people find you and where can people find your kids' TTRPGs?
Awesome. So my games are on sale on itch.io and drivethrurpg.com. The Wildspire stuff you can find on Amazon. His things are on Amazon, or you can find he has a website, wildspire.com. I have a website, familyfantasyrpg.com. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, but I don't do the Twitter as much. YouTube, Twitch. I also got into hobby miniature painting, so I've been uh, doing some Instagram for my miniature painting. But yeah, that's where you can find me.
Great. Well, thanks for coming on today, Colin.
Thanks for having me, and I look forward to seeing more of the great stories and games you guys got going on.
Thanks for listening to Area of Effect. Be a part of the ongoing conversation. Follow us on Instagram at the Kids Table D&D, where you can DM us questions that might appear on a future show. And check out the Kids Table D&D on YouTube to see how we include kids and teens at the table. Brought to you by the Kids Table, because when kids are at the table, everyone wins.